Welcome to Electrified Marina Podcast. Yep, I'm your host, Eric Pinzon from Electrified Marina, and with me, I've got Justin Dollinger from Aqua Electric. What's up, man? Oh, man, you're lagging. Oh, okay, we're back. Awesome. We haven't done a podcast in a while. I've been slacking, busy as heck with everything. I was just looking at the calendar, haven't done one, it looks like, since Miami Boat Show. But before we jumped into catching everybody up, I wanted to give some updates on the company itself. So we've been getting ready for this upcoming season. It'll be our biggest season yet, going into our fourth year. And we've got some new members we brought on the team. So just hired an integrations engineer, Lee, that joined us. He's has a 100-ton license into boating, into electric cars, and he's helping us a lot with our repowers. We've got quite a bit of repowers we're starting to work on, and I've got a technician that helps me with a lot of stuff, and I've got a lot on my plate. So I had a dedicated engineer to help with that side of things. Yeah, we're expanding the team and moving right along. But in terms of the boat show, Miami Boat Show was pretty big. It wasn't as big for the electric boat industry, but there were some couple key things that were announced there. Some boats they had some unveilings, but it was pretty awesome. We had the Genesis hybrid marine boat come out. So that was unveiled publicly, and I'm going to pull that up here now. But we've got this boat is pretty interesting. So it's the first hybrid gas wake boat that's going into production. So we've got Ark that's making electric boats, and we've got a handful of other voltaic that's going to be going into production with their electric boat. But something unique about this Genesis marine boat, so it is a hybrid. It's a serial hybrid, and so that means there's a gas engine on board, but its only job is to charge the batteries on the boat. So it's got a final drive of an electric motor, but there's a gas engine on board, and it's essentially a backup generator or an APU, an auxiliary power unit. But this thing's got enough fuel and battery on board to last you all week long. So if you're hardcore and doing a ton of wakeboarding, this boat's going to be a pretty good fit. But something also interesting about them, they're going to be likely selling their powertrain to a lot of manufacturers, and they're the first ones to really put together a hybrid powertrain and market it and making it available to other OEMs. So it's going to be interesting seeing the take rate from some of these other manufacturers. But Justin, you back with us? Oh, he is not on yet. Looks like he's having some technical issues. But another boat that got unveiled there, which is gorgeous, from Vision Marine. So it is the SPECTR. So it's a 26 footer. It's got their Vision Marine 180 outboard that we're familiar with. But check this thing out. It's a tri-tune hull underneath, and so it's got plenty of seating up top. But they completely redid this boat, and they're a conventional tri-tune. They've got some hydrofin foils underneath, and it's kind of a luxury day boat up top. But I think it's going to be a pretty good seller. It's priced right around $200,000, right there with like the ultra high luxury pontoon market. But it's got all the amenities you'd expect in it. The fit and finish of it was gorgeous. It's curious to see how that thing does on the market, but going to be exciting. We're going to be probably checking it out down at Palm Beach here, actually next week, now that I'm looking at it. But it's got two of their 43 kilowatt hour packs down underneath the thing. They're 180 outboard, top speeds around 30 miles an hour. But it's just a gorgeous overall boat. I can't wait to get out on the water with that thing. It was up on land on the hard at the Miami show, so we didn't get to go out in it. But I'm curious to see how the efficiency in this thing is. You can't see them on this, but it's got some hydrofin foils down underneath the thing. But it's going to be a pretty awesome boat. I'm glad to see it getting added to the electric boat industry, because we need as many options as we can get right now. But let's see here what else we got going on. We've we From Epropulsion. So the Spirit 2 actually just got announced, and it's going to fill an interesting void. It's right above the Spirit 1.0, so it's 2 kilowatts. But it's right in that 5 to 6 horsepower space in terms of energy output. Detachable battery on this thing. Another thing that that's interesting is the battery in this is NMC, and so that's a first that we're seeing from Epropulsion. So I'm kind of curious to see how that goes if they start shifting more over that way. But the Epropulsion Spirit 2 that got announced is going to be pretty popular. We've got quite a few pre-orders for it already. And I know the rest of the chatting with Luke at Emo Electric, he's got a ton of interest in it as well. And, it's enough power to get some of these small boats up on plane, some dinghies and little tenders and stuff. But they upgraded a few components on it too, which I'm a huge fan of. One thing that was the Spirit One was plagued with. Most people neglected to put dielectric grease or clean the area where the comms cable goes in, the power cable goes in, and you'd have corrosion issues. But now this thing's serviceable, much larger pins, easier to clean. So that's going to get rid of some of those headaches that were kind of self-induced. And it's kind of nice. It's got a little USB port, USB-C on there in case you needed it to charge while you're out. But this thing's going to be a good seller. It fills a void right above the 1 kilowatt space, but below like the Navy 3.0. So can't wait to see how that thing does. Let's get back to this. Yeah, so Miami show was good. Had a lot of interest there. It was kind of a relief seeing some new products. There wasn't too much came out at FLIBS, but at the West Palm show that's coming up here next week, we're going to have Vision Marine's obviously going to have a huge setup there. The SPECTR will be there. We'll have the Velar there in the water. That'll be pretty exciting. But we'll be doing some live feeds from the West Palm show next week. Zero Jet's actually got a new tender that's getting announced, the MC0. So looking forward to that thing coming out as well. Man, it looks like I lost Justin here. I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, he's trying to reset his stuff now, so we will see how that goes. But in terms of Palm Beach, the ENV1, the foiling boat's going to be there. This thing's pretty cool, and there's a lot of foiling boats that are kind of popping up. But these guys have one in the water. It's going to be there for some sea trials after the show. But let me pull this thing up here. So this is, I think, maybe the first time it's going to be over here on the East Coast. I haven't seen this thing in person yet. And so this will be here at the show on display, but it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be right there with Candela and Vesiv and Navier. The foiling space is getting pretty big, and these guys, it looks like so far that they're chasing after the recreational market. I think it's got like a $400,000 to $500,000 price point. A lot of the other foiling applications are chasing over the. Oh, got a nasty echo. Oh, you're back with us, man.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect, man. I was just chatting about Miami show, what's coming up, but I wanted to jump back to announcements with the company, but something super exciting that has kind of been in the works for a while, but Justin's actually coming on board with us at Electrified Marina to help in business development and sales, man. So glad it finally happened, man. I've been kind of chasing you down for a long time.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of reasons to do it, and I'm really excited to join the team for so many reasons. And I think especially right now, in addition to just being excited, I think the work that you guys are doing, and now I'm going to be joining with, is super important. And I mean, one of the reasons is the world is in a global energy crisis right now, or it's about to be. And I think there are some countries that are really insulated from this. You look at Norway, who is almost running 100% on renewables. 90% of their new car registrations are EVs. They're a net oil exporter, but also China, that spent the last decade like really focusing on EV infrastructure and building out their EVs. Electric vehicles, electrifications, no matter what industry you're in, is really a way to insulate yourself, either yourself personally or your business, from all this kind of chaos that's going, that global leaders are throwing into the world right now. So I think electrification, like we were talking about, is a way to take power into your own hands, literally.
Yeah, no pun
And
intended.
yeah,
It's interesting you say that, man, because like I never approach it from the greenwashing standpoint. Everybody knows that, but like, and I've always said national security, but like you're breaking it down to more of a micro level, and it's like it's personal security, your business. Whether that's your own overhead, your cost of your business. But and it's funny, I see on social media, I've got friends from all walks of life, thousands of people, and there's one half that's complaining about gas prices, and the other half is all these EV drivers with solar, and they're kind of filtered by it. They see the noise, but it's not affecting them. And so it's like it future proofs you and shelters you from the volatility. It's kind of crazy to think about when you put it that way.
yeah, and it doesn't matter what country you're in, or where you are in the world. And I'm just really happy to be contributing to that, to help further that along, just helping people sort of insulate themselves through electrification.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. And it's like we don't know how long the war is going to go on, how much stuff is going to be impacted, what's going to happen to the futures market. It's like we're along for the ride right now. And when you have that little control over, one of the just short of water, like one of the most valuable resources. It's a lot. It can have a huge impact, especially when your business is running on it. I've been chatting with more and more local blue collar fleets, whether it's plumbers or electricians or contractors. Like most of those guys work locally. And it's really cool seeing some of my friends. It's like, hey, how do you like your lightning? I see you post about it a lot. And it's like, well, let's look at your use case. Most of these guys have telematics on their trucks. And it's like, you can see where their fleets are going, but they're all staying within 50 miles. They're not going across the state to work on plumbing stuff. So there's so many use cases where it makes sense. And the same goes for boats. We did those paddle pubs in Tempe, Arizona, and a lot of guys on those waterways, they don't have convenient marina fuel be nearby. You see a lot of these boat clubs, and they get a tank put on the dock that's going to be their own fuel source, and they're getting that filled up weekly. And it's like when you remove that as a variable, whether you're covering a boat with solar, plug it into the grid, it's like you can shelter yourself from world wars, natural disasters. Like there's so many variables that control a worldwide market like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading shipping news, and there are already bunker shortages for fuel for ships. I mean, like large ships, of course, take on 10,000 plus gallons of fuel. There's shortages already, and so I think electrification, specifically, you're talking repowers for commercial applications, is a huge way to help insulate yourself and protect from fuel prices potentially doubling. There's so many applications out there that are already in use. Like I found a couple months ago, this guy called the Electric Lobster Fisherman. I think he's out of
He's going to be on
Scotland
the
or something.
podcast. I
Oh,
invited him. Yeah,
that's really cool.
we follow each
Yeah, I
other on
mean, what
Instagram.
this
He's a
guy's
good dude.
right on, right on. Yeah, I mean, what this guy's done is he's converted. He's been a lobster fisherman, I guess, his whole life. He's converted his lobster boat to solar, like 100% solar electric, and he goes offshore and sets his traps. And I don't know, his cost of electricity is like, I don't know, $5 to $7 USD per trip
Yeah,
versus whatever it costs in diesel. And I mean, it just shows the power of electrification.
that's it, man. And we're getting the exciting part is like, because we get a lot of repower inquiries, and a lot of times it's, smaller boats where it might not make sense, or it's like a John boat where they want 20 horsepower on it, or, sometimes it's cost prohibitive or the weight is a problem. But in terms of commercial applications, I see those as being like the low hanging fruit that's easier. And, whether it's a bigger tour boat or like a smaller, ferry application, but like the boats at Disney World come to mind. It's like, why aren't those electric? If by the time they're repowering those, they would be dumb not to do it. You've got predetermined routes, they're low speed cruising all day long. But there's so many of those applications that make sense. And I feel like the tech, whether it's price or volume or availability, it's finally at a point where it makes sense for a lot of these guys to do it. And I feel like you're going to be chasing down a lot of those and reaching out to them. And a lot of it's education. You look at the analytics, you look at what they're doing in a day, and does it make sense or not? And there's usually an ROI that is very easy to figure out when it comes to that.
Yeah, and I mean, I started basically in the marine industry driving boats. And so, I want to talk about one of the other reasons I'm, happy to be joining Electrified Marina is, I started off in the electric boat world, trying to educate, trying to understand for myself. And what I've seen from a lot of manufacturers, from their marketing departments, are various things about the capabilities of electric boats. And as a captain, I need to know what the capabilities are exactly, not stretched and not kind of changed around, but I need to know specifically because it's important for safety. I need to know, can my leg of this trip, is it going to work with the range and whatnot we have? Marketing departments of certain boats have sometimes, or companies stretch let's stretch the truth a little bit.
Yeah.
But what I love about Electrified Marina is you guys have been always completely honest and open about, the sometimes limitations that electric boats have. And instead of saying, okay, this doesn't work for everybody, but here are some specific use cases where electric boats work fantastic. They work incredibly well. And so I think it's a match just in terms of integrity of what you guys have always been open on. These are the capabilities of electric boats, and let's go after these sort of markets.
Yeah, and I always relate it to like the automotive world. Like there's an EPA range and then there's a real world range. You're not cruising at 55 miles an hour on flat land with no HVAC running. Like you're probably doing 70 to 80 depending on the speed limit. Temperature's always not going to be great, and it's like here's what you're really going to get out of your range. And the problem with boats too, there's so many variables with that. But I mean, we've got some tools coming out, calculators in terms of efficiency, putting different the number of people on a boat, the wind, because there's a lot when a manufacturer can say, hey, at a constant 20 miles an hour, this is exactly what it gets, or 18 miles an hour, whatever it is. But it's like, yeah, you load that down, you get a headwind and you're going against a current, and now it might drop 30, 40%, So I think our content in terms of the education you're going to bring on is going to be huge because I want to get some real range tests dialed in, and laying out what every boat is capable of with some kind of standardized test because that doesn't really exist right now, not that I've seen anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's going to be the important conversation to have with potential clients is on like taking a very specific look at what are their use cases are and their parameters, and to set a route and then do actual tests or measure things out, so that it's going to work, and make sure that the whatever product or solution we give is going to be possible for these customers.
Yeah, that's it, man. And it's like without, I don't know, we're working on getting some tools out there that'll be on the website. But when the big differentiator is having a one-on-one conversation with it, because some people you talk to them, it's like, oh, we're out on the boat all day long. It's like, okay, let's dig in a little deeper there. What does that look like? And it's like, oh, we leave at 10 o'clock. We go to this sandbar for a couple hours, and then we go to this cove or we go to this beach. And it's like you find out they're sitting idle 80% of the day. They're anchored out somewhere, but it's like it's not like you're up on plane boating for 8 hours. That's not a normal day. If it is, whether you're, I don't know, tubing or wakeboarding or offshore fishing, it's like this isn't the boat for you. I guess you could say with the Genesis boat with an unlimited range, like the average wakeboarder would be perfectly fine. But for a lot of use cases, I've gotten, I'm not going to say pushback, but there's been concerns of how brutal I am with the limitations of these things. But people don't realize, like I went through that with Tesla, and when it comes to not living up to expectations, it becomes a service problem afterwards, a customer service problem. And like that is still my company that handles that. So if it doesn't perform up to these, overzealous estimates, like that's our headache to deal with. I don't want a pissed off buyer. I don't want someone wanting to return the boat. And so we let people test these things in their environment, take it out for a couple hours, like experience this thing, whether it's a jet ski or a boat. Like I need you to know exactly how this thing's going to perform, so you're not upset afterwards. And like if they like it, perfect, they're going to love it. It's the best, best boat for them. And so we try to be brutally honest with this stuff because we don't have enough electric boat owners out there to have some that are pissed off. And right now, everybody I know is quite happy. We don't have pissed off customers because of how critical we are in that vetting process.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't make any sense to be very short-sighted and try to, just move boats for the sake of that. It's, I think we want long-term, multi-year, generation customers, and the way to do that is to take a far-sighted, long-term view of making sure that these are really going to work well for their capabilities, so that they, continue to purchase in the long run.
That's it. And in
Yeah,
addition to that, it's like also telling their friends. I mean, we were just inviting somebody out. We've got an event at Lake Anna coming up in May, and we invited one of our previous owners out there. He had a Vision Marine Phantom, like small 5 horsepower thing. And we invited him out, and it was like, hey, you want to come out, talk about your experience with the boat? Last time we talked to you, you were liking it. Is that still the case? And his reply, it was something along the lines of, I need a stack of business cards. I can't go anywhere without somebody asking me about this boat. And it's like, oh, perfect. So like he's out there, he's a billboard for us, So like we've got to keep these people happy because they're the ones on the lake. I mean, on his lake, there's an electric, actually a Vision V30 Tri-Tune out there, and then his boat, and we've got a couple of jet skis, Taiga jet skis out there. But otherwise, like those are the 0.01% of the lake that's electric. Like we need those people happy. They're ambassadors for us. So it ends up becoming an interesting relationship with these guys.
absolutely. When I was having some technical issues, I heard you talking about the new wakeboard boat,
Yeah.
the Genesis. I think I'm not sure exactly what you covered, but I think the system is really cool. The fact that you have this gas motor, a serial hybrid system, that's running. Okay, it's a hybrid, it's a gas motor, but it's running in its happy place. It's the most efficient RPM to just charge that battery. I think is pretty incredible.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize. Like when you're fluctuating loads on a gas engine versus just maintaining a constant RPM, and they know the efficiency levels of these things and where they're perfect, where the boost pressure is perfect, and they can maintain that. Like a lot of people don't realize that that trains are the same exact way. I had a Chevy Volt that was like this, but it's essentially just a gas engine charging a set of batteries, and there's no direct connection. So serial hybrid means all that power is in line, in linear, versus having a drive shaft connected to the gas engine as well. And so the final output is that Cascadia electric motor. But something that Genesis has done is packaged it with their software now to where they can now sell that powertrain to different either wakeboard manufacturers or different boat companies. So it's pretty cool. I think the only other one in the industry I've seen do that is Ingenuity. They've done a couple powertrains. I think the last one I saw was on a Green Line yacht that they did it with, and I didn't get to go into the boat and check it out, but I know it exists. But I love the efficiency side of it. And in reality, like with the Chevy Volt, with a lot of plug-in hybrids in the automotive world, people get to realize how little energy they actually use, whether it's like in the day to day or like overall in a week. And if they could go spend the week there, call it spring break, your family's there, and you're out there wakeboarding a couple hours a day, there's a good chance you could make it through a week without using the gas engine. But it's there in case you need it. If you have that extreme day, that anomaly, whatever it is, like you've always got that peace of mind. So I see it in terms of an adoption rate, efficiency. Like it's got a lot of things going in its direction. I can't wait to see how it does once it goes into production.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room in the market for this type of propulsion system. So you are going to Palm Beach pretty soon. Did you talk about that already?
I touched on it. We've got a couple of things that are pretty exciting there.
So what are you doing down there?
So whenever I go to Southern Florida for the boat shows, I don't get a booth, which is great because it allows me to hang out with different manufacturers, spend some time in the booth with them, whether that's chatting with clients, chatting with them, the networking side of it. But Velar will be down there. They're gonna have a booth and a boat in the water actually nearby. So we'll be doing sea trials with the Velar. You haven't ridden on the Velar yet, have you?
No, but I think it's pretty exciting. I mean, I think it's one for one in maybe not quite, but it's a pretty cool boat. It's a catamaran with a partial foil, with twin electric outboards that you can operate, I believe, with a joystick and walk it side by side. It's one of the first boats I've seen that's capable of doing that. But it's essentially a large platform that you can take a lot of people out on. You can fish off it. You can go to the sandbar, and it's fully electric. And you tested, you did a range test on it, and you got quite a bit further than what you could normally get in a fully electric boat.
And it's, I mean, so they haven't done it yet. So the most capacity they've had in this thing is 80 kilowatt hours. And when they did it, they utilized 80% of the range. I'm making sure I did this right. So it's 80% of the range on 80 kilowatt hours. And they got 36 miles of range at around 19, it was either 19 or 20 miles an hour average. So it's like some of the best efficiency in the industry, and it's going to have the longest range. And the exciting part about that is that was with 80 kilowatt hours. They have room for 180 kilowatt hours. And like, don't get me wrong, it turns into an expensive boat once you have that much battery. But for the guy that doesn't have a budget, he wants to spend 250, 300,000 on a boat, like they can get 60 to 80 miles of range at planing speed. So like best in the industry, as far as I know. And that includes, the full foiling boats, because those have smaller battery packs most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, when these boats first came out, I'm talking high-powered electric plane boats. I mean, the range is somewhat limited, but we're starting to see now the range creep up and up and up, and they're just getting more and more capable. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and like with the foiling side of things, we're tapping into that too. In terms of energy efficiency of foiling, depending on the boat and the conditions, it's like a 20 up to a 40% efficiency gain. Like it's absolutely massive. And so we're going to start selling foils, and I mean we're going to sell them. We're going to eventually sell them to gas boats as well. But in terms of electric, I don't think most people realize the benefits of it, because if you've got let's call it a 25% efficiency gain on an 80 kilowatt hour pack, like when you're pulling an extra, call it 20 25 kilowatt hours worth of battery out of that thing, it's like an extra 10 to $15,000 worth of battery. It is huge, all from 3 to 4 grand worth of foils. It can go a long way, and like I think it's going to be most popular on pontoons and tri-tunes to start. But this is the kit for a pontoon setup. And it's just some simple fins that bolt in. This is from Hydrofin, so this is one company. There's another company with a Verafoil that it's a big flat blade that goes across from it. But we're going to end up ordering both from one from each company and doing a back-to-back test, because nobody's done that yet. But I mean, some of these guys are seeing gains that are 30 to 40%. It's absolutely massive, and it really it eliminates range, which is our biggest constraint in electric boating, that and price. But it makes that less painful when you can add these on for a couple $1,000s. I can't wait to get more of these out there.
Yeah, and when you're saying foils, you're not talking about these like 3 or 4 blades that come down with actuators and electronics. We're talking basically a pretty simple system that bolts on at a certain angle, and it's fixed. It's simple, and I don't want to say no maintenance, but it's very simple system.
That's it. And I always have to remind people of that. It doesn't it changes the draft by a half an inch to an inch depending on the system. But in terms of downsides to this thing, all that really we can come up with is modifications to your bunk, or your bunk on your trailer, or your boat lift. But this is the system for the tri-tune, but you can see it's almost flush with that center log. And so in terms of downsides, like you make some adjustments, one-time adjustments to the bunks on your trailer, but otherwise you've got efficiency gains forever. And it starts helping right around 15 miles an hour. But above that, like it is tremendous gains in terms of what it can do, the lift that it provides, the stability. It's going to be a game changer. And it's so funny. You can go into a lot of these pontoon Facebook groups and see what people are talking about. I mean, you just search the word, and it's almost like we're against the same battle in terms of electric boats. These people, like, they don't know about it. They're uneducated. Most of them are unaware, but they think it's a scam. They don't think it's worth it. Like, they're completely negative about it just because it's different. And you can see how polarizing it is. And these comment threads sometimes get turned off because people just go crazy in the comments. And there's a handful of people chiming in, and I like pseudo interview these guys, And it's like, oh yeah, I put the hydro fin on my 20 footer that had 70 horsepower. I love it. And it's like, hey, I need some more. What do you got? Like, give me more details. And it's like, oh, I used to barely be able to get up on plane with a full boat. Now I'm getting up on plane easy. My top speed, one guy said his top speed went from 20, this was a bigger boat. He had 150 horsepower, I think. He said his top speed went from 27 to 37. And it's like the amount that would cost you in a gas engine or batteries would be massive. You're talking tens of thousands of dollars. And these guys are doing it for $3,000, $4,000 in a day of work. So we're going to tap into that a heck of a lot more than what most people are right now, because it's most people don't know it exists. It's similar challenges of electric boats. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, and I mean, just in case people don't know how it works, essentially what a fixed foil is it's just a wing or a blade under the boat. When you drive your boat on plane, you have a lot of drag in the hull. The water's your hull has to push water aside, and kind of it's dragging on the bottom of the hull. The wings or the foils, they lift more of the boat up out of the water, so you have much less drag, and that's how you're able to get much more efficiency or higher top speeds and things like that. I actually drove a pontoon with a fixed foil a couple of years ago in Seattle, and I was surprised it's not like you might think that you're higher out of the water and it's a little more unstable. I really didn't feel that at all. It handled beautifully, and in some cases it actually sort of like dampens the shock a bit. It's a bit of a smoother ride because you're not slammed into the waves and the chop as much. So I think it's already been proven out, the technology here. I think we're going to see it in more and more boats.
And that's what I was going to mention too. It's like air suspension for a boat. The first time I rode on the Velar, we were getting ready to go over a wake, and I was like leaning back because I didn't know if it was going to be wet. When we hit the wake, I leaned back from the bow, and when we went over it, it was like the smallest little bump compared to a regular boat that would have like slammed into the wake. And like when you're lifting up the boat, even just a couple of degrees, it makes such a huge difference. But I don't know if it was Dustin or Matt from Velar. One of them said it's like air suspension for your boat, and it was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's I don't know. I feel like every boat should have it. Like there's no reason not to. Like modify your bunk on your trailer or your boat lift, but you'd be dumb not to do it. Like higher top speeds, better efficiency at the speeds you were going to. And like the downsides is you've got some fins in the water. And it's funny because people always talk about, oh yeah, they're going to get ripped off if you hit stuff. It's like, one, don't hit stuff, but two, your outboard is already sticking down in the motor. That would have gotten damaged anyway. But it's like, if that's all you've got that you can come up against this, like it's a pretty good product.
Yeah. It's I think, yeah, I mean, boating safety. I'm sure there will be accidents. There always are, especially in places with lots of sandbanks. Is it going to be much worse than just a regular hull? I don't know. But yeah, I think the technology is proven. We're seeing it on everything, by the way, not just pontoon boats. I mean, like 50, 60-foot yachts now, they're starting to put these foils on just because they make that much of a difference.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was Greenline. One of the bigger power cats just came out with it. It might have been Greenline, or no, Aquila, I think is what it was. But yeah, you're right, like a 40, 50-foot power cat with it. And I've seen them from World Cat. They've got them on there. And these are big, like 30-foot power cats that are going offshore. And the efficiency gains they're getting are just huge, especially when you're burning that much fuel. You're talking like a hundreds of dollars difference per day in fuel consumption for those guys. It's a big amount.
Absolutely. So what else are you going to see down in Palm Beach?
So the Zero Jet's got a new boat coming out. Actually, let me pull this thing up, man. I'm excited about this. And like we get so many inquiries for Jet Drive, and we don't have a lot of options in the electric space for it. Zero Jet is kind of it. And we've got Jet Drives on the Taiga Orca jet skis, but unless you're ripping out that powertrain to put in to put it into another boat, which is some heavy modifications. But so check out this MC0, this tender. It is a big tender. You're not going to like throw this up on some davits on the back of your sailboat. But look at this thing. The utilization of space on this actually surprises me. You've got like pull down benches in the back, dual jet drives on the thing. So they've got two Zero Jet jet drives on this. It's going to come out in two sizes. One size I think might be publicly announced. Not sure. But this tender is going to be pretty cool. So we're going to be checking that out. Okay, there we go. They announced it. I didn't know if I was speaking too soon. So the smaller 325 is going to have, the smaller 325 is coming out later, but that's going to be a single jet drive, smaller battery pack. But the 450 is what's getting announced at Palm Beach. And I mean, you've got like seating for 8 on this thing. It's quite a bit. And we have so many people. I didn't realize how big it was, but when we get inquiries for this jet drive, so much of it is for draft and safety. Whether they plan to be like as a part of a sailing instructor at a boat club, and they're going to be constantly having people in the water around it. But also draft. We have a lot of people that are interested in the zero jet powertrain on, whether it's the AB, the OC tenders. But some of these people only have 12 inches of clearance, and you're just not going to get that with a standard prop or even an inboard. But yeah, it's 8 to 9 persons, max speed 25 knots. Like, this thing's going to be one hell of a tender. I'm pretty excited for it. I can't wait to see it in person.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know much about it. You showed it to me. I just took a look at it briefly, but I believe the MC stands for McConaughey, which
Yes.
I think it's the same one, but it's a pretty legendary shipyard out of Australia that builds just incredible sailing yachts and whatnot. And they have actually experience already with electrification. During America's Cup in Barcelona, was it a year or two ago? They mandated that all the crew or chase boats had to be hydrogen electric foiling. So they built one of those super cool James Bond looking hydrogen electric foiling boat. But yeah, I mean, the twin zero jet propulsion system, there's so much you can do with maneuverability. I think the quality of this thing is going to be incredibly high. One of the coolest electric boats to come out, I think, in a long time.
It's interesting. We're selling more of the zero jet OC tenders, and they just partnered with AB on the inflatable side. And something that's interesting, some of these things with 5 or 10 kilowatt hours of battery, they've got the ability with the charger to backfeed and use it for hotel loads on whether it's a yacht or a sailboat. And it's like, now you can tap into that power when you're not going to use the boat. So it ends up being like a pseudo range extender, if you will, if you've got an electric sailboat or something. So kind of an interesting backup there.
Yeah, or use it as a night generator in place of your night generator if you're on anchor somewhere and you don't want to have this smoky diesel thing vibrating in your boat. You can just run off your 10 or 20 kilowatt hour battery off your platform.
That's it, man. And it's funny because I think the boat to grid side of things is so overlooked right now, and the value it's going to bring, because we have to, you've got to think about how much batteries are going into some of these boats. Some of them that have 100+ kilowatt hour. I mean, even 200 to 300. Whether it's the Ark or Voltaic. I think they've probably got the biggest battery out there. Actually, let's pull this thing up. They are on tour right now with this thing. They're down in I think it's Lake Austin. It's Lake Travis, Lake Austin. They're somewhere down there right now. But they're doing demos of this thing. So they've got their boat in the water going for rides. But this thing's got a huge 300 kilowatt hour pack. Like, that thing in terms of boat to home, in terms of battery backup capabilities, like you could power a house for a couple weeks if you were to use your electricity right, not be overzealous. But it's a decent sized 24-foot wake boat, but it's going to have a good amount of batteries in there. You're talking, I don't know, rough math, like 4,000 pounds of batteries in the thing, but it's getting used in an application that weight is a benefit. It's not a detractor. That's just less water ballast you got to bring on board.
Yeah. Can you hear me? I was having some connection issues. Okay. Another thing on this to grid, I'm not sure if you touched on it, but one of the probably applications in the near future is if you're in the north.
We're losing you, man. I can't hear you, man.
You still have me?
Oh, there we go. You're back.
Still there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just repeat that. So one of the applications they're looking at for the near future is free storage for your electric boat. And the way that works is if there is a, let's say, a dry storage full of electric boats, they can use it for grid balancing. So basically, like,
Losing you again, man. God, this is irritating. Sorry, guys. Good thing we don't have a ton of people watching right now. Oh, you're back. Grid
can you hear me?
balancing, having a bunch of boats in dry
Hello, hello.
storage. Yep, you're here, man. You're good.
Yep. So okay, so yeah, so your boat is in dry storage in the wintertime. During peak rates, your boat is discharging. You're getting paid a little bit, 1 or 2 cents per kilowatt hour. The storage company.
So we're losing you again, man. All right. So either way, in terms of a boat to grid, boat to home side of things, it's pretty easy for a marina dry storage, whatever it ends up being. You can have a good amount of power there. Call it 4 to 6 boats, and now you've got a megawatt of power during peak time when the grid desperately needs that power. That utility company has to source that electricity, whether it's from nearby states, nearby grids. But that peak demand power is so valuable. They're either turning on peaker plants that are like diesel or natural gas peaker plants, but the value of that electricity goes up significantly. And so at that point, that storage, dry storage or that marina can backfeed the grid with a megawatt, 2 megawatts of power. That is a tremendous amount of power that can definitely balance the grid. And the cool part is like that's getting utilized at times when the boat's not getting utilized anyway. So it's like the boat's sitting there idle, not getting any benefit from it, and now it's making money for you while it's sitting there parked in storage. It's going to be pretty exciting, man. Do you know somebody doing that already up north?
I don't. I did see one experiment where they tried to do that. I think they did it successfully. It was in Europe
Yeah, I
somewhere,
think it
but
was Aqua and
somebody doing
Aqua
it
and
now.
Vita, maybe, or maybe it was Rad. I forget who it was, but it was one of them. But there's a company we're partnering with called Blue Grid Energy, who handles that connection between the utility company, the OEM, and like the marina on site. But we've had a couple conversations with them, Blue Grid Energy, and they've got operations in Europe already, but when we've got our marina more developed and we've got the power in there, probably a year from now, hopefully we're going to have some connections with some Aqua Superpower chargers in place. And like same thing, like you're saying, hey, here buy this electric boat and here's free slip fee. Just let us utilize the pack during peak demand times, and I mean it can be a huge value add. I'm pretty excited about it. Oh, we lose you again. Oh, this is irritating. But in terms of let's get back to Palm Beach show next week. So we've got the Velar. They're gonna have a booth doing some boat rides. We've got, I don't know, half capacity right now, so we've got plenty of spots left for some boat rides down there. The MC0 is going to be getting unveiled. Vision Marine's going to have their SPECTR there. Maybe the Stirk 31, I think might be there. It is a super cool like center console dual outboard boat. That they had that at the Fort Lauderdale show. But I think that's about it in terms of Palm Beach. There's going to be a Silent 62 there. I'm going to be checking that thing out, and we might be doing a podcast on it. So hasn't been confirmed yet, but we might be shooting a podcast on the boat. So can't wait to hear if it comes to fruition. We got you, Justin. You here with us?
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to lose me again, but here for now.
All good, man. All good. What else, man? No, the industry's it's getting pretty exciting right now, man. I was just telling you, we're struggling to get enough boats right now. We've got boats on order from a few different manufacturers, but we've got so much demand. We're probably gonna end up buying some used pontoons and kind of giving them some new life, tearing off the gas powertrain, put new furniture, new fencing on it, and we're going to start restoring some of these old pontoons because I literally can't get them fast enough right now. It's a good problem to have, but I literally had a call 2 hours ago, and someone says, "Hey, we want an electric pontoon, or we just bought a house on electric only lake. We want to come down and visit this weekend." And it's like, hold on, like I sold out of everything we had. We've got more boats coming in, a month, but these people are ready now. It's warming up, and I knew it was coming, and I knew we were going to have demand for it, and we'll probably have, I don't know, a dozen pontoons coming, but it's definitely not going to be enough. We reached out to a couple different pontoon manufacturers, so if this gets out to any other pontoon manufacturers interested in working with us, I only want boats either naked with no powertrain, and I want to rig electric powertrain on them. But nobody is, other than Flux and the flagship boats, which are going to be sold out next week for the next month anyway, the next 2 months. There's not a whole lot we can get with electric powertrains. I was just chatting with Vision, and they're ramping up production right now too. They've got, some of their cocktail boats that are hard to get. I think our awareness level this year is probably 2 to 3 times higher, whether it's our website traffic, our social media traffic, but the lead generation we're getting. I think it's just becoming more and more aware. It's getting more acceptance. Electric car adoption has continued to increase over the last year. So if we don't double our boat sales this year, I'm probably going to be upset. But yeah, we've got a lot of events coming up, man. I wanted to touch on those really quick. So we've got a lot of local events, and then some events actually over in California that'll be pretty exciting. So we've got a Heathsville Earth Day event on May 18th or April 18th next month. That we'll have a boat and maybe a jet ski at. We've got a show in Northern Neck, so like Middle Peninsula, Kilmarnock, Irvington area. That's on the 24th. So April 24th is a Saturday. So boat show on that Saturday. And then Sunday of that same weekend, so April 25th, we're going to be going to the Tides Inn, and we'll have boats in the water there doing a demo event. And it's interesting, this area of Virginia, it's called Irvington. They had an electric Duffy dealer there for like 20 years. So there's 20 or 30 Duffys in the water already. So these people are kind of pre-exposed to the electric boating side of things. And the last time we went to the event, I was blown away at the approach and the awareness that these people had. Like, oh yeah, just like my Duffy, and they get it already. It's not the convincing we've got to do. They get it. And so it's like, hey, you're used to that slow cruising Duffy. Check out, this higher horsepower motor. And then it's like, oh, now I can replace my bigger power boat with an electric boat. But we're seeing that as a kind of an easy segue into the adoption side of the higher speed, higher horsepower electric boats when they've been used to the Duffy side of things for literally decades. A Duffy's been doing it since I think the 70s.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm still connected here, but exactly. I mean, we were talking the other day that there's already all over the country these electric only lakes for various reasons, residential or drinking reservoir water, where people have had electric boats for, like you say, decades. And that's Electric Craft, Duffy. I mean, they've been around for a very long time for that reason.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought them up, man. We actually just got on board with Electric Craft. And so these guys, similar to Duffy, they've got a little bit of a wider boat. Same, low speed lakes, protected bodies of water. But the amenities in these little things, they have so much space inside them. Let me see if I can pull up some pictures of these things. Probably should have been better prepared. Let me see if I can pull this guy up. Explore more. But the last one I was looking at had a refrigerator, a sink. Yeah, they've got them covered in solar too, so you can get that as an option. And with your energy consumption at those speeds, you can probably own the thing without plugging it in, because when you're moving it at 3 to 5 knots, you're using like 1,000 watts of power, maybe 1,500. And so you're able to cover this whole thing in solar and essentially cruise indefinitely. But look at this little kitchenette in here, man. So you've got a sink, a coffee pot, a refrigerator. So it's got so much amenities in this little space. It's like an extension of your patio or your living room on the water. But it's going to be pretty exciting. We're going to try and get a couple of other boats over to this side of the coast. They're based in California, and they sell to a lot of lakes over there. But they've been pumping out a good amount of boats, and they've been on our radar. We just honestly, it's been a bandwidth problem, and we haven't had the opportunity to bring on more people. And we just started having conversations with them a couple months ago, and we're getting them added to the website. But I'm pretty excited about them because it's going to be a great addition to all the manufacturers we represent.
I love the name on the back of the boat, Electrocute.
Electrocute. It's if you go into Newport Beach, there's Duffy's everywhere. It's like every dock has, their offshore boat, their and their Duffy next to it, or Electricraft. And the punny names. I remember going on the last boat ride I went on, one of the Vision boats, and we just went through looking at all the boat names. I stopped taking pictures after like 30 or 40 of them because it was endless. But yeah, it's pretty exciting in that space. And it's interesting. There's a reservoir near us here in Richmond called Swift Creek Reservoir. Somebody approached us and they said, "Hey, I want a pontoon." And like making our way through the conversation, the motor they need, how much batteries they need, and like, "Oh, but I need solar." Or no, they said their question that blew me away. They said, "Am I gonna have to take the batteries out every night to charge them?" And I like literally stopped me in my tracks. I was like, "Wait, what do you mean? You do that now?" She's like, "Yeah, I've got 4 12-volt batteries that I take out and plug them in at home." It's like, this is crazy. And it's like, how many boats do this? Like, what kind of market are we talking about here? And she showed me on Google Maps, like, oh, this whole section of the lake, people like beach their boats and they have a reserved spot and they tie them up. But it's a neighborhood lake. The thing is, it's like a mile long. But a lot of these people don't have power there. And so right now, a lot of those people are bringing their batteries back home, plugging them in. And it
Man,
just, it made me
solar.
realize,
Oh,
right. And you only need like a solar panel or two on a boat that's
yeah.
that small going at that low a speed. So we're gonna outfit probably a Princecraft Brio with a small fixed hardtop and probably 1,000 watts of solar on the thing. And it should do really well in that market. But there's a lot of markets like that. These people either can't or it's cost prohibitive to run power down to the dock. Um, I was
That's a
just
strong lady.
yeah,
All
right.
heating
I
around.
know. Right.
More battery.
I asked her if she I said you can cancel or I said you can get your gym membership back after you get this since you're not going to be working out dragging batteries in every time.
Man.
Yeah, but I had a call 2 days ago with a guy in Sudan, and he has a property on the water but no charging. And I was crunching the numbers showing him the Milliken. Let me pull this thing up for the people that haven't seen it. It's a Milliken M10. This is one of my favorite boats out there because it's got the so much solar on the thing. So it's 30 feet. It's a good sized catamaran, and it's got so much solar on the thing. You could almost run this thing indefinitely. And I was talking to Francois from Milliken, and he was telling me one of their first customers that bought a boat, they didn't have access to charging. And so these guys literally own one of these things. So look at this thing. You've got 10 panels up on top, and then they've got bifacial panels on the sides as well. So it's a 6 kilowatt peak of solar. But this thing moving, 5 to 6 knots, it's only using like 2,000, 3,000 watts of power. And it has the capability to go faster, but this thing's made to be like a low speed cruiser. But with the amount of power on this thing, you could get by with not charging this boat, never plugging it in, if you're an average user. Obviously, if it's a charter operation and you're running it nonstop, like you'll need more. But this thing sleeps has a ton of solar on it, 2 pod drive motors, a little kitchenette. It's such a cool boat. I'm trying to get one here over in the U.S. It's been a struggle because I don't have the extra $250,000 to bring it over here, but I'm working on it.
It's a beautiful boat, and I do love the French boats. You get that just a little extra element of style that they build into everything. It's cool.
Yeah, but no, the that one and the El Veni actually is another solar powered boat. Speaking of boats that I want to get over here, Emil, who well, actually you wrote on this thing. You did the big video on dispelling
Yeah,
range anxiety, man. That was the coolest thing.
we're good buddies. Hey, we spent a lot of time hanging out on his solar boat.
Yeah, I love these things, man. And it's like he sells a bunch in Africa. he was telling me a lot of these guys don't have access to electricity, and it's like these things they have
Mhm.
guaranteed sun all the time, and oh yeah, there it is, infinite range. When you cover every surface with solar, it ends up producing a lot. When you've got that efficient of a hull, and you manage your energy consumption, like you could get by without charging the boat. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we did 5 days without ever.
That is so cool, man. He's over at there's an event going on right now at in Nice. It's a Nice boating tomorrow, and he was sending me pictures, making me jealous. I was super bummed I didn't get to make it over there for it. Was this from your guys' tour?
That one, no.
Oh,
That
okay.
one, no, no. Somewhere in Finland.
Yeah, super cool boats. But anyway, where are we at, man? We covered some upcoming events. Oh, I didn't make it to the rest of our events. So Lake Anna, let me pull up our website here. We've got some upcoming events. I mentioned Heathville. I mentioned the Tides In, but we've got a couple of events. We've got Lake Anna May 16th that we're going to be doing. Let me pull this stuff up. So May 16th, we'll be back at Lake Anna. Not sure what boats we're going to have there yet. I know we'll have some jet skis and maybe a center console scout, maybe a pontoon. But that'll be a pretty big event for us. It's interesting, man. This lake. Hopefully, you're going to be there with us. There's a public side of the lake and a private side of the lake. And the private side is a great boatable lake, but it doesn't have access to marina fuel, which is crazy. There's no marina on that side of it, no commercial properties, and so you've got this awesome body of water and no access to marina fuel. So it's a pretty easy sell for us over there.
Yeah, and even if they did have access, I mean, I think we've talked about it before, but a it's a chunk of time in your boating day to have to drive your boat to fuel dock and fuel up.
That's it, man. And I don't know if you and I have talked too much about this event. Can you still see my screen? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
So this event, so we partnered with Charged Marine, and I meet a lot of people in this space, in the electric car space, and like you've got to be pretty maniacal to stay super motivated about this stuff. It can get pretty defeating over the long term. And there's this guy, Ollie, with Charged Marine. So he set up this company. He's got Seawatts that he's building out right now. And it's essentially a resource for electric boats, charging infrastructure, like you name it. It's going to be a huge resource for it. But he reached out to me, I don't know, a few months ago and talked to me about this event. And he invited me to it. And it's like, hey, cool. I get invited to a lot of events. I can't really afford the time and money for a fun field trip. But then, like a couple weeks later, months later, this was, I don't know, I think early February. I started seeing how big this is developing, and got on a couple more calls with him, and it will be, to my understanding, the largest electric boat event ever. Not just the U.S., but ever. And yeah, I mean, you can see everybody that we've got on here. Pretty excited. We just got Vision Marine on as a title sponsor. But like, look at all the manufacturers that are going to be at this, and we still have another 5 to 10 we're in conversations with. So this list is going to expand and probably get to 2 times what it is right now, and we're still 2 months away. So anybody in Northern California or in California in general, like this event is going to be worth going to. If you're in the industry, if you're interested in buying, there literally won't be another event that has a larger assortment of boats. And it's not just typical boat show. This is an experience. He named it a festival for a reason. And so he's inviting, we're gonna have wineries there, we're gonna have food trucks there, there's gonna be stuff to do for kids. But the amount of manufacturers there that is going to be absolutely huge. And so we're going to probably start rolling out more marketing for this year soon. But I'm really looking forward to it with the amount of vendors and manufacturers that are going to be all in one place. So I don't know if I've invited you to this yet, but we're going to have a roundtable on that Friday, kind of industry day. And there'll be more of a VIP night that night on the Friday. But Saturday is going to be open to the public. It's a ticketed event, but it's the bang for your buck in terms of the amount of electric boats in one place is going to be absolutely massive. I cannot wait.
yeah. California wine country in the late spring,
Yeah.
electric boats. What more can you ask for?
Literally, yeah. And what's amazing too that I want to highlight this Suntex Marina. Pleasure Cove. Amber, who's running that place, she's getting electric boats for her rental fleet, for her shuttles. She is getting fast chargers put in. She's working with Aqua Superpower. So it is going to be like one of the like most well suited and most progressive like marinas in the country. She's gonna have an electric boat fleet there, fast chargers, and hosting us there. The impact she's having, I was blown away in my first conversation with her with how forward thinking she is. But June 6th, we're going to be there for the weekend. Tons of boats. I can't wait for it. It's going to be a big event for the electric boat industry, and we're hoping to help get the word out there, sell some boats, and really have an impact in Northern California, where the adoption rate and exposure to electric propulsion is arguably the highest in the country. It's kind of the mecca for innovation.
One of the first states to actually incentivize people with money, like state-backed the core voucher program, helping businesses buy fleets of electric boats, and it's I mean, California is one of the biggest markets, I think, in the country for electric boats.
Yeah, super exciting, man. We've got more news coming. I can't wait. There's a lot I'm looking on my list here that hasn't been like publicly announced or finalized yet, but stay tuned, guys. Anybody watching this, if you're thinking about a boat for this season, reach out to us sooner rather than later. A boat or a jet ski. We had some leftover inventory from jet skis last year. Taiga put those promotions on them. I think we're pretty much sold out. We might have one or two left that are pending. But we've got more jet skis coming. The WX3 that's coming probably next month. We're getting ready to put in our order for those. But if you're thinking about a boat or a jet ski for this season, reach out sooner rather than later. We've got a lot to talk through. A lot of people get held up with charging and dock permits, and there's a lot of due diligence that goes in here. But we're here to hold everybody's hand and make sure we find the right boat for them. And that's kind of one of my favorite parts that you've kind of touched on before. Us being brand agnostic, we can find the right boat from somebody. It's not, we don't represent one manufacturer and try and force everybody into that one boat and make it fit their needs, but we represent most of the industry. So, and that's continuing to expand. So pretty exciting stuff. Oh, I think we lost you, man. I think you're frozen again, but appreciate everybody watching. If you got any questions, electrifiedmarina.com. Oh, you're back with us.
Just the last part about being brand agnostic. Again, what I love about the team at Electrified Marina is being customer focused, customer centric, and trying to support their needs with whatever boat is capable of doing that.
Yeah,
boat but yeah, thanks guys. It's great to be here in the podcast and great to be joining the team.
Yeah, can't wait for you to come out. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Electrified Marina Podcast. Sorry for all the technical issues. Can't even talk about stuff that's coming, but stay tuned for more news. I can't wait to see you guys. Thanks so much for the support.